So Warren Andrews is the reason I got into ham radio. Someone who I'd never personally met. One of my good friends' uncle, and the stories he would tell, and specific about the winter operation in 1978 with the pilot boat Can Do and Salem Control's role in that situation. It harkened back to my school days in high school. I had I wouldn't really say friend, but a acquaintance named Brian. He was a ham radio operator, younger, and we had this, it wasn't a show and tell at school, but it was this interesting thing that you don't know about me. We got up in English class and everybody told their little story, and Brian's is that he was, his dad was an amateur radio operator, and in turn he's an amateur radio operator, and he talked about how just recently they assisted with a missing person operation locally, and those ham radio communicators were able to assist law enforcement with locating this missing person. So you have something like that kindling in the underlying current. You have a situation to where your best friend buys a couple radios. He picked up a couple of GRS radios that had a couple of other features, some of which included 2 meter band operation, as well as, what's the other one, 30 centimeter? The 440s. And that cinched it for me, going for my test, and as technician, and then my second test. Now I'm not, I don't have the third license yet, but don't particularly, I'm mostly 2 meter local repeater is my reason for what I use my ham for. I bounce off the countywide repeater for local disaster. But the inspiration of such brave people during that storm that go into the storm to assist, where the mission was primary, and there wasn't a debilitating fear as the captain went into that situation to help people that he had never met, and his crew with him. But the communications, being in a situation to where, take the movie Die Hard, for example. That John McClane had Al that he could talk to over the radio made a difference. It becomes a force multiplier, and the privilege of being that force multiplier was a lesson that I learned from Mr. Andrews. The one part in this series that Mike just shared, where Warren had shared all of his tapes, the one thing that I might have missed when you did your original video, which we still have posted, about the pilot boat Can Do, where there's another ham radio operator that I gathered he was a little bit south of where Salem was, Salem Harbor was a little bit south of that, and he was able to actually read the Can Do and relay that communication to Warren in Harbor Control, and then thus relay to the Coast Guard, keeping everything going. That's the essence of ham radio and what I enjoy about it. And it's something that has stayed, ham radio to me has stayed relevant because cell phone towers are now the norm. We don't have landlines hardly anymore. I don't know of any. And cell phone towers, once they get to about 50 to 75% capacity, become unreliable and begin to shut down. In my own experience of the last few hurricanes, when they've hit in North Florida, I've had trouble getting through to my family up there, as the bandwidth of, imagine you've got a spectrum of radio waves, and you'll get partial service. So your internet on your phone may work, but you may not have a voice line, or your voice line may work to receive, but you can't transmit when you call a loved one. Ham has the capability of bypassing all that. We can set up a net, which is it's a communication mode where we follow a very certain protocol of moving information that's necessary. So there's a protocol to enter the net, protocol to participate in the net, protocol for news, and then it's given from there to the authorities. So there'll be like one ham operator with emergency response, and then you'll set up all these other various points. Now back to what's going on with the cell phone towers. We can set up a relay repeater that could potentially be countywide, like a hasty antenna, and can actually communicate through each other with a series of repeaters. And things have changed with it. Technology has changed with it. Some of the stuff I don't particularly agree with, like there's a mode of it that goes through the internet, and I found it's not reliable. It's not as reliable as, say, what's going on during the winter storm, where everybody's communicating direct. It has a durability when you're doing it that way, versus if you've all heard about like the Raspberry Pi, and there's other it's not Starlink, it's like WinLink or something, but they actually communicate via ham frequencies via the internet. So you may get on the internet, then it eventually feeds to a repeater tower, and then you can communicate through that. I don't really dig that, and I don't particularly dig the digital frequencies, because there are laws in ham radio about coding. So if you're, and Yaesu, for example, is a brand of radio, and it can communicate digitally. Well, if I'm listening to you with an older radio, your transmission is essentially coded to me. I personally feel that violates FCC law in that regard, to transmit digitally. And when I am talking direct to a friend, like he's got in his radio in his truck, like if we're going somewhere, he'll accidentally hit a button, and it's very easy to put that bitch in digital mode. There's a place for digital as far as clarity, but I digress. But those old guys, with their radio, and the story that my friend told when his uncle would let him into the Radio Shack, and as a youngster be like, "Hello everybody, this is my nephew. He'd like to say a few things." It's a really, when you're of a certain formative age and you got the technology and all them amplifiers, and you're reaching out, it's a cool thing. And it's different than, I can pick up my cell phone and conceivably call somebody in England like it's nothing. But back then it'd be something else. I mean, you get on the shortwave AM or some sort of a kinky sideband and talk to somebody in England through this atmospheric bounce, man. It's interesting if you're willing to nerd out enough about it. To me also, I'm getting a little bit older, you know, the thing about turning 50 is I'm noticing physical declines in myself, but, you know, there's things that I can still do with my mind. That ham radio thing lets me keep it up. As much as it drives my wife nuts, it keeps me busy during a storm. You know, the beeping, like it has a Morse code tone that goes off as the repeater just reminds everybody that it's still awake. So my poor wife has to listen to every 15 minutes the you know, squawking throughout the whole house, and I can only imagine what's going through her mind, like, oh great, my idiot husband's over there playing walkie-talkie for nothing, and here we are, just old geezers talking about our location in the county, giving rain measurements. But the point isn't rain measurements. The point is, you know, we're practicing our net around disasters, and they also do weekly nets where we all stay trained up on that communication protocol. I don't know if y'all are interested or not, but I need to find the video of when I was traveling through Tallahassee. I can't remember the hurricane. It must have been Oscar. They actually had a Tallahassee net set up, and what was interesting is, so down here there's a lot of retirees, so when people identify themselves by their call signs, you get your call sign. If you leave it, you know, once you can actually arrange to change it, you know, from technician you can change it a certain amount, the middle grade you can change it a certain amount, and then the other one you can actually go to like a couplet where it's like three-letter call sign if you need everybody to know you're a badass. But the point I was trying to make is, when we were up in Tallahassee, because these radio or these call signs as they're given, and that's why I haven't changed mine, these call signs as they're given by the FCC give your base location. So we were up in Tallahassee, and you'd hear this net, and all the identifiers, like, say, started with KN. So everybody had this common call sign, and you knew from the call sign, okay, this cat's in the area. I need to find that video. It would be cool if I had a higher production value for everyone and I attached it to this. But alas, I'm not willing to go to that sort of effort for you people. But man, mainly did this for Reward Audacity, so you know how your uncle has had an effect on me, and I as such have, my nephews have also seen me do the ham radio thing. So I just want you to know, and this last video of yours reminded me of that, I just wanted you to know that those things are important to me, and they're things that I won't forget, man. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate him, and I appreciate all the other badasses that are just like y'all.